good to see all of you here. We've got some good representation. I had some people, for example, say, hey, where's Newburgh? And I can say, there's Newburgh. All right, we'll go around the room. We've got Kelly Minke, counselor from the city of McMinnville. We've got Keisha Wydrow from West Valley Chamber of Commerce, Sheridan Chamber of Commerce, and Delphian School. Something, you're out there and we're so glad you are. Thanks for representing. We've got Scott Cooper from McMinnville Economic Development Partnership, who I was told I needed to go talk to you, so here we are. We have Rick Rogers, mayor of the city of Newburgh. We have Joyce Fleming from Congresswoman Bonamici's office. We have Joya Goodrum from the McMinnville Chamber of Commerce. We have Mayor Michael Cape from Amity. We have Mayor Scott Hill from the city of McMinnville. We have Representative Ron Noble. And we have Commissioner Rick Olson. I'm pretty sure that we have Representative David Gomberg, and we have Commissioner Mary Sarrett, I'm going to rename them, but hopefully I get their names right. All right, thank you very much. And I'd love to start with an update, congressional update from Joyce. Joyce, what would you like to tell people in the community on behalf of Congresswoman Bonamici?
Well, I thought I would just sort of go over a lot of the requests that the delegation has been making for the disaster declaration and everything. It's a little confusing, but last week was the emergency declaration that the president signed, and that allowed for some immediate assistance. This week, we are waiting for the president to sign the disaster declaration. The difference is that it provides more individual assistance. The disaster declaration required the governor to make a recommendation, a request, which she did yesterday. There were 24 counties included in that request, including Yamhill. That is going to open up opportunities for SBA eligibility for loans, more individual assistance. But at least a few hours ago when I checked, that still had not been signed. So we're waiting for that. And it's expected to be signed hopefully today. But that's happening. Then the delegation is also submitting a lot of requests for specific assistance, like, there was a letter to HHS Secretary Azar to declare a public health emergency, which would open up resources for a lot of communities. The delegation requested housing assistance directly from FEMA. Thank you, Commissioner, for your suggestion of the manufactured housing. We're following up on that, and yeah. There's been just multiple requests, and basically the congressional delegation is supporting the governor in what the governor is requesting from the federal government. So there's just a lot of activity there. And if anybody has any questions, I know this is very, very broad. So if there's some specific things that you are wondering about or a status that you're looking for, please reach out to me and or someone in our office, and we will work on it and see what we can find out for you. Then the House is back in session. They and the Senate too, I believe. I think everybody has gone back to DC. There's just a lot going on right now. Hope for a COVID relief bill, but a lot of other things happening. So that's kind of an overview. And like I said, please reach out with any questions.
Great, thank you very much, Joyce. Do we have questions now? Raise your hand if you fully understand all of the emergency declarations and policies and implications. Okay, so there may be some more questions later then for you, Joyce. I thought for sure that Representative Noble would raise his hand. I feel like this is the thing that maybe, well, okay, I'm looking around the room. I feel like you know the most, but maybe some other folks do as well, including Commissioner Sterrett, since this is really her area. Okay, are there any questions then? Well, thank you, Joyce, and we will all be asking you questions along the way, I am sure. And that was the question that I was supposed to direct towards Scott Cooper was, Scott Cooper, can you reach out to manufactured home and builders and mills about getting signed up for FEMA to be in the FEMA system? That was what I was supposed to say. Yeah, but we'll get to that. Oh,
I can. It sounds like you had a conversation with Eric.
So many conversations with Eric. Yes. Okay, great. We had Representative Gomberg on the line, but he dropped off, and I'm going to try to get him back on so that he can give us an update from his position at the coast. But I would love to turn it over then to Representative Noble. What would you like to tell people about any of the multiple crises that we have going on here?
Well, first, my internet connection has been for the last week or two is a little bit shaky. It's satellite, and as you probably know, we don't have a clear view of the sky right now. So let me know if I start to fade out, and I can dial in and finish this on a phone call. You know, we're staying busy, as is everybody else, and I appreciate the confidence in me, Casey. But just to suggest that I might know everything about something is a little bit daunting, and I will never profess that. I can always learn some more, and I know there have been a lot of emergency declarations in support of everything going on, from the pandemic to all the wildfires, and I very much appreciate that. You know, there are a lot of people coming together in the community, not just government services, but a lot of others, and that is just amazing to see how we've all pulled together. Very thankful that the fires in Yamhill County, or at least coastal Yamhill County, seem to be contained and mopping up. But I think we would be foolish to not be aware and continue our vigilance to ensure that we stay safe, not just from the fires, but also the smoke. And the smoke and the air quality, you know, is just as bad as any potential COVID virus. So I think we need to stay vigilant with masks and air quality and ensuring that we are doing the best we can to maintain our health. There's a couple issues I know that have come up, and Commissioner Kula had texted me about one, and I thought I would go ahead and address it. I haven't contacted him. You know, in my time in law enforcement, okay, maybe you texted me about a couple, but my time in law enforcement, I had come across people who were arsonists and set fires, and we have that happening. It's not surprising when something like this happens. There's a I don't pretend to be a psychologist, but there's a psychological things that happen and triggers in some people where they actually enjoy perpetuating fires, similar to people looting. I think there's been a lot of information flowing about that. I think it's really premature and probably, well, I absolutely think it's wrong to think that it's a concerted effort, that any one group may be sponsoring or pushing this, simply because I know that there are a lot of individuals, or a few individuals, that they have a tendency to do that. I trust law enforcement to investigate those. So far, there's been no evidence that I'm aware of that this is a concerted effort by any particular group, that these are individuals acting on their own. And I guess I would finish that by saying, I think we all need to be, again, vigilant and be watching and reporting anything suspicious. It would be, well, and that's happening in other areas. We're heading into an election cycle here. Well, we're in the middle of it, in the heat of it. It's, to a large extent, is pretty shameful for where I sit to politicize the tragedy of what's going on there, from fire setting to really the cause of the fires. And I'm gonna just delve into a really touchy subject. You know, climate change is real. Mismanagement of forests is real. And the weather event we had, that's a once every 50-year event, is real. And to simplify the tragedy of what's going on and the fires by pinpointing one particular reason, whichever that reason is, I think is quite honestly shameful that we have a very complex situation. We need to take care of our environment, both from a climate change perspective and from a forest management perspective. And then we need to recognize that some things are outside our control. And all those together have provided us with this tragedy right at the moment. Right now, we need to focus on people whose homes and lives have been destroyed. And we have plenty of time to get back on track and look to see what we can do as a state and as a community to minimize these types of events. Because I don't think we can ever control them fully, but we can sure do our part to minimize them, whatever that looks like. So with that, I think I'll finish my little soapbox and let you continue on. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, but you may not get off that easily because there's sometimes questions. But thank you, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you didn't try to text that to me. That was a longer version. Do we have questions for Representative Noble? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for your diligence and attention on behalf of all of your Yamhill County constituents. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Oh, maybe Councilor Menke was waving at you. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And I'd love to move on to our county commissioners. And I'm going to begin by asking Commissioner Sterrett what she would like to say to the community today. I'm pretty sure that's Commissioner Sterrett.
Yes. Can you hear me, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay, good. Success. Thank you all for being on the call. Real quick, I'm going to talk really fast because I know there's a lot of information that has to get out there. Want to give you an update on what happened as far as standing up our evacuation center at the fairgrounds. Want to thank Gary Wirtz, our fair manager, who did an amazing job, and all of the volunteers and the folks that came together. We actually had more donations and more stuff than we could ever use, but at one point there were about 189 horses out there. A lot of the folks that were evacuated were coming from Malala and Beaver Creek and Estacada area. We had a couple of folks from the Yamhill mountain fire, and for the most part, when I went around there on Sunday, I heard from people who were in tears talking about all I wanted was a place to sleep. And when I got here, it was 2 a.m, and folks like Lacey and Gary and everybody sort of came out and just, what do you need? Here's a laundry cart, a cart to do laundry. Here's food and hot meals and bedding and shavings for the horse. Hampton Lumber delivered some shavings. Folks were, Wilco was on it delivering tarps and things like that. So I'm just really impressed at how the community came out to help these folks. They were very grateful. And also want to let you know that in other parts, in other fairgrounds like Salem, DHS was working with families who might need some support, like food stamps, things like that, and working with the foster families because they need a lot of support. A lot of the families are working within the home. And also our Emergency Operations Center with Brian Young did a great job. Fortunately, they were in the their new facility, because if they had to do this out of the basement of the clerk's office, I can't imagine them doing it. So many thanks to the amateur radio folks and to CERT and to Brian and Carol Ann and Ken Nygren. And let's see, what else? Wanted to give a little update about the Guard. There have been some questions about the National Guard. And one of the things is basically that we're asking, well, why didn't we have the National Guard earlier on? Apparently from Leah's office, she was saying that the National Guard generally is not trained to fight fires. And so they do have about 240 of them in the Klamath area fighting fires. And right now the state is in the process of training 250 more National Guards people to fight other fires throughout the state. So it looks like the majority of folks are leaving our fairgrounds. They're heading out now. We need some help with basically just helping with cleaning up out at the fairgrounds and putting away some stuff that we'll be able to use. God forbid we have another event. But let's see, in relation to what Representative Noble was saying, looking at some news reports, there's an arson suspect that was arrested, rearrested, in Multnomah County. There are a couple of situations where they talk about people being arrested in evacuation zones and Lynn counties are investigating 8 suspicious fires there. And so, yeah, as Representative Noble mentioned, we need to keep our eyes open because this is just, one of those things. And people seem to take advantage of these types of situations. So to give you that, and also there's information out there. If anybody has been displaced and doesn't have a place to live and is not sure about whether they'll be able to go back to their home and get their ballots, when the ballots go out on the 14th, they just basically can contact the county clerk's office and be able to get work out getting another ballot. But hopefully things will be straightened out before then and folks will be, for the most part, back home. One of the other things I wanted to share is not too long ago, we heard of a 26-year-old Yamhill County man, and he had a negative COVID test, and then on a post-mortem test was determined that he was COVID positive. So there were some questions from his family. He was coded as a COVID positive death in Yamhill County. There were always questions about that. CDC came back with the results of a lung tissue sample, and he never was COVID positive. So I'm asking our HHS director to correct that so that we don't have that listed as a COVID death, and also just the information out there. When we do find out that someone is in fact negative, I think we need to make that correction. So I'll just leave it there. Oh, a couple of things we found out we needed to really work on is our mapping system, our road closure system, how to handle donations better, but we'll do that, address it in an after action review, which we'll be doing in this coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That was some really good, that was a lot of information, and I really appreciate you getting that to everybody. I just put into the chat feature the Secretary of State's page, webpage that's specific for, that has questions about what do you do if you're displaced and you are, you're worried about your voter's registration or your ballot and how to get it to you. And that has some really good information. So I really thank the Secretary for getting that out there. Do we have any other questions for Commissioner Sterrett? Thank you, Commissioner, for being the liaison to emergency management and taking to heart the mapping and the communications challenges and helping us learn from them. I appreciate it. All right, hopefully we get Representative Gomberg on, but I think his clock is running out, so we will hear from him again some other time. Commissioner Olson, what would you like to tell people today?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. First of all, I'd like to go back to something Representative Noble said. I've heard him mention several times here that he was a police chief someplace. The problem is everybody you talk to can't figure out where he's ever a police chief at. And I heard he had a higher education degree, but they didn't say he was head of security at a higher institution in the Yamhill County. But no, honestly, Ron, I have to give Representative Noble kudos. If anybody is working hard for Yamhill County locally, it's definitely Representative Noble. Ron does so much, and he does all those things that we don't know about, and he's not always at the front. He's not one of those that like to get the limelight and that thing. But I'd also like to go back to something Commissioner Sterrett said is, as I talk to people who volunteering out at the fairgrounds, it's really interesting. We take something like COVID that really has divided the country, divided the nation, divided the state, and even locally has divided a lot of us locally. But when you have an actual emergency or regional disaster like we've had the last week, that's when I think people really come together. They may not have agreed on COVID and COVID solutions, but by God, they're working right alongside each other, doing everything needs to be done. And I think McMinnville and Yamhill County are very giving people. They do a lot, and they're not asked to do it, and that's our individuals, our businesses, our service clubs. And so keeping up with Gary and what's going on at the fairgrounds, I'm just totally impressed with the work Gary, his staff, and the fair board and Commissioner-elect Brashear is doing. I mean, and Mary's doing it. Just everybody is involved. One thing I'd like to address is some of you may be aware, may not be aware, that during this emergency, Friday and yesterday at least, Yamhill County has had to send additional workers home, and I don't have very many workers left on campus, and it had nothing to do with COVID. That many of our buildings, the HVAC systems and everything, are so old. They originally put in 40, 50 years ago, that the breathing air inside of our buildings and the air quality inside of our buildings was much worse than the air quality outside of our buildings. So the determination was made by staff, and I think it was very good one, to take those people and send them home and let them work at home, because it doesn't do any good to wear masks in your building and work in your building if the weather inside your building is worse than the weather outside your building. So I think that is a post-review. That's another thing that we really need to learn on, is when we have this kind of situation, what do we really do for our internal employees? How do we ensure that they're working, but working safe? Because it could be another 50 years till we have this type of situation again, but I don't think so. It was unfortunate to see last week. It was so bad that Main Street, even though it was closed, none of the restaurants or anything opened whatsoever, just because of the health hazards, and they're told not to open. I'm not so sure they would have got a lot of business outside anyway, but hopefully it'll be cleared up this weekend again, by this weekend, that everybody will be able to open. And I think that's about all I have, Casey.
Rain, right?
Yes, maybe tomorrow.
I confess that I'm actually always really excited about rain coming this time of year. And so maybe everybody else just gets to join me in that, because it means I don't have to move pipe anymore.
Good point.
Do we have any questions for Commissioner Olson? All right, great. Thank you very much, Commissioner. And Commissioner, Mayor Rogers, do you have a moment to update folks before you jump onto your next meeting? Because I'd love to have you go next.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Commissioner Kula, and everyone. Thank you. Thanks so much. Just a couple of things to underscore again what what Commissioner Olson just said, and we've all been saying, is again the incredible generosity in this community and our greater Yamhill County. I just wanted to give out a shout out to a couple of the businesses here in town that were actually preparing meals for frontline firefighters and all, and emergency personnel, and Ruddick Wood and stores. I know we're going through the World Central Kitchen, and if you're familiar with that, Chef Jose Andres organization. So that was super cool to see, and as many of the churches, Northwest Christian, et cetera, here in Newburgh, were actively involved with all of that. Other things we're working on now, of course, with the air, it'd be nice to get the people that are houseless out of the air, so we're trying to work on that and try to get some people into moteling here in Newburgh. One other thing, I think you mentioned FEMA and manufactured housing. I'd just like to give a plug to this, and particularly for Representative Noble. I think there's a piece of legislation currently that disallows the building of stick-built homes and manufactured home parks in our state. So again, my day job, as you all probably know, I work for Habitat for Humanity, and I've had this dream that we would be able to do replacement in aging manufactured home parks, but do it by coordinating goodwill, and particularly the Habitat model, and to try to do it that way. But there is legislation. The reason I mention it now is because, at least in parts of Southern Oregon, and we hope not in Estacada, in that area, these manufactured home parks are burning, and they're going to need to be replaced in terms of the home. So again, just something, if that ever crosses anyone's path, keep it in mind, stick built in manufactured home parks. So there you are. Otherwise, Commissioner Kula and everyone else, all of you folks who are giving of your time and the service that you provide to this community and the citizens of this community, thank you. And sorry to have to jump off, but again, good to see you all, and do take care.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Any comments or questions for Mayor before he goes blank? I mean, virtually. Okay.
Right.
Great. Thank you very much. Welcome. Glad to see you here. Mayor Kate, while we still have you around, what would you like to tell people? And it's very good to see you.
There we go. Mute. There we go. Well, first, thanks for that welcome. I didn't think I would get a bigger welcome than Mayor Hill. I mean, so was nice to hear. And I do gotta apologize for not being able to attend. It's been absolutely crazy at work the last couple of weeks. This week we're getting started in food deliveries, taking kids meals out to different places in the district for kids to get their lunches and breakfasts. And we've got 60 different bus routes doing that to try and keep all 250 of our bus drivers employed and getting paychecks and health benefits and all that kind of good stuff. So it's been quite daunting, and things have rarely stayed constant for more than about 2 hours at a time. And then to add on to it, to kind of piggyback off what Commissioner Sterrett was saying, we were contacted by Oregon Emergency Management to assist with the National Guard deployment around the state. So we took 6 busloads of guardsmen down to Klamath Falls. I believe that was on Saturday. On Sunday, we took another, I think, 5 busloads over to Lincoln City. And yesterday, another 6 busloads down to Roseburg and Glide. So we're extremely grateful to have been asked and to have the opportunity to be a part of that work and get people out there to help with the fires. And we're waiting to hear. I don't know if we're going to be asked to, but I'm sure we're going to have to get the guardsmen back home at some point too. So I don't know if we'll be involved with that, but for right now, we've done all of our deployment work, and part of my job is it's kind of a ubiquitous title. You know, what do I do? But on things like this, I'm part of the logistics crew working in the background, trying to make sure all that happens and people get to the right place, and we have all the equipment for them and the personnel. And then one of the biggest difficulties with that is in our industry, we work on a tight schedule. Like within the minute you need to be here, and then the next minute you need to be there. And then working with the military, and military is the hurry up and wait philosophy. So it had some difficult things like that, and having drivers getting back at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning from these trips. But what an honor for us to get to do that, and we're really happy about that. So, this week we're just upside down trying to get people their lunches and their meals, lunches and breakfast. And then at the same time, we have a large number of employees that are affected by the fires as well, especially out east of Marion County, Silverton, Staten area. Several employees evacuated, so we're short-staffed from that. We're short-staffed with a lot of staff affected by the smoke. And unfortunately, there's nowhere for bus drivers to really hide. We can't go indoors. We got to be outside with the ash falling and the smoky air and all that kind of stuff to do our job. So it's been quite the challenge to get things going, but we're happy to be going. City of Amity news, we were also affected by the wind. That kind of got all this started. It's been a while now, but that first day with the winds, we had some trees coming down in our city park and took out some of our play structure. And so we just got our park opened with the new building or rebuilt building. And so that was nice. And now we got parts of it closed again and working on, well, I think we got everything cleaned up at this point. So just working on trying to get things replaced and put back together and operational. So the joys of being involved with city government, right? You get to do those kind of things. And then the other big news to share is that our water treatment plant upgrades, our water system improvements, huge project. We've got about $5.5 million in grant and loans through CDBG as well as USDA Rural Development. And so that's great. But then we're at the point where we're getting close to being able to go out to bid. And then our engineers came back and said we need another $4 to $5 billion, depending on how we were going to do it to finish the project. So we are in the process of looking into those additional funding opportunities. Our city council has decided to go ahead and move forward and try and get those funding options and figure out how to get the project completed. That's a big goal for us. And so we gotta figure out the money end of it, but we're excited also to be able to report that our water reservoir project is completed, and all three of our reservoirs are online. Yes, big thumbs up. By doing that, we've been able to double our water storage capacity. I don't want to. I'm going to get the number wrong, so I won't say how many gallons, but it's a lot of water. So I'm really, really thankful that we now have the capacity, the storage capacity, as well as we finished our emergency water filter improvements. So we have both of our filter trains online and producing at full capacity. So huge relief for us that we can produce the water that we need and we can store the water that we need. It's just the rest of the work is making the system more efficient and work properly instead of kind of piecing different parts together. So, but anyhow, that's what we got to say. Oh, and on the election front, we do have one person that's running for mayor in my seat, and then another individual has announced, at least publicly, that he's running a write-in campaign to be the mayor. So Brian our county clerk will have some work to do on that one, I guess, here in a couple weeks, counting up ballots. So, but anyhow, I think that pretty much sums up where we're at in Amity. So.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor. It was good to hear about your work driving National Guard troops everywhere. So by the end of the week, my understanding is we'll have 1,000 deployed around the state. So lots of work happening. So thank you for being part of that. Do you have questions for Mayor? All right. Thank you very much, Mayor Cape. Mayor Hill, you're the next one to unmute yourself. So how about you go next? You're also the next mayor. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for those that are reporting out today. I know the last week has just been tremendously stressful as the fires have taken over. I think the first thing that I would do, as many others have done, is the generous approach that McMinnville has taken to helping those in need, whether it be out the fairgrounds or food or clothing. It is very indicative of this community's desire to reach out and be helpful. So from a city perspective, thank you to our citizens and those that have left their families and gone out and helped those in a time of need. Let's see, looks like Mayor Rogers has dropped off, but again, the scare that happened in the Chehalis Mountain range, it got pretty close to Newburgh, and they're our neighbors. The next thing that I think I would do is, as many of you know, the last couple of days, Red Cross had reached out and indicated how they would like to have donations and help. They're still very involved in the cleanup, and the fires are not completely out yet. I sent out an ability to share what the Red Cross was looking for from a perspective of help. Yesterday was a day of the governor had her conference call in the afternoon, and the mayors had the opportunity at 5 o'clock to get on a call with her. And it was just information primarily on every aspect of the wildfires in Oregon and what was happening. And again, I have shared that on my Facebook page with anyone that would be interested. I think Mayor Cape was talking about their water supply and, the particulate fallout from the ash with Mac Water and Light. We have the full capacity of being able to clean our water and filter that in the systems that we're using. So there ought to be no concern about water contamination and the acid base that the ash might put into that. We're completely prepared to handle that. Also this evening, we're going to go ahead and have our McMinnville Water and Light Commission meeting at 5 o'clock for those that might be interested. Yesterday's calls talked about weather. And as I've taken a look at the weather, it looks like it's being pushed out a little bit. Last night we were to have rain, and then today we were to have rain, and now it looks like it may be the next day. And so, weather is a real, we have no control over it. And if we could have rains to truly get down into the afterburning and the things that our firefighters are working on, and to clean our air, that would be welcomed. And so I'll from that perspective, just hope and pray that rain will come, and then we can get back to a bit of normality in our county. But again, the state it's a long-term process of rebuilding. We have COVID, and we have business relief and economic relief, and now we have so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, millions of acres that have been burnt, and the costs that go along with all of that. The last thing that I would just share from going back to the city is, again, we have allowed our city employees to be home again because of the quality of air. And again, they're working from home. So many are, but again, being able to do a shout out for our police and fire in this time of need. This coming, I just wanted to update from a perspective on the 29th of September. We're going to have our first ODOT meeting with the West Side truck rerouting, and that would be the rerouting that is happening through Yamhill, in Yamhill County, through Yamhill, Carlton, and into McMinnville. And we're already scheduling our second meeting in October. So again, more to come from that standpoint, but in just being able to share with people that dialogue is moving forward at the end of the month and in October. And with that, Casey, I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions that might be had.
Julia, go for it. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, good afternoon. Good to see you today. I have a question about that ODOT meeting, and what is the impact that the change in whatever it is they're talking about, the rerouting of trucking through Carlton and coming into McMinnville? How will that impact our community? Could you talk about that for a little bit?
I could, Joya. Again, we've not had the meeting yet, okay? And so it is so preliminary. Again, my understanding is that ODOT has been approached to move the truck traffic that has been plaguing Carlton for so many years. And in their urban renewal area, the 2 blocks or 3 blocks there, it rumbles the road just like it did in Newburgh. And so there is a discussion that's going to be had by ODOT to possibly reroute all of the truck trafficking that comes down Highway 47 and going out through Yamhill to, I think it's Pikes Road, and then going on to West Side and coming all the way in, and then that would come in West Side Road in McMinnville, and then hit the intersection of West Side Road and Baker Creek, and then also then go forward into that very awkward intersection down kind of where the split of Highway 99 is. Again, there is so much discussion that needs to happen about that. Number one, West Side Road is not at a level to be able to handle that kind of traffic. No shoulders and the wideness of that road would not handle that and bicyclists. So again, I'll tell you right now, we're looking at information that will be sent out over the next month to us. And then myself and Mike Bissett and Jeff Knapp from Visit McMinnville are representing the city as we talk. And as we have more information, we will reach out to our partners, because this is just the beginning of a discussion that will be long-term in nature. Hopefully that answers your question, Joya. Okay.
I think the way that ODOT said it at some point was, if they get a resounding no, then they're done with the conversation. And if there's something more ambivalent, then it'll be further conversation. Sorry.
And Casey, you're a part of that discussion representing the county, if I'm not mistaken, too.
And I suspect that Representative Noble's probably involved in that too. Maybe.
At least monitoring it and eliciting it from the ODOT end through our transportation committee.
Yes, which I believe you're the co-chair, vice chair, something chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then Commissioner Olson.
Yeah, I have just a comment, and then going back to what Mayor Hill said, that really bothered me. The Parkway Committee is very interested in this issue, because the feeling is West Side Road would take a total rebuild. You just can't overlay it. It would take a total rebuild of the new road, and any money that is put into that project to rebuild West Side Road or to change the traffic around will be directly taken off the money that could be allocated to finish phase 2 and phase 3 of the bypass. And like ODOT says, it's like probably never happened, but even the fact that they're discussing that as an option is really concerning to a lot of the Parkway members, because, that just takes a lot of the focus off getting the bypass done when they're talking about for that 3 or 4 blocks in Carlton, where they go from the old transition to 47 to moving everything to West Side Road. I think that, and then when you get to McMinnville, and I think Mary Hill said it, when you get to McMinnville end with the one terrible intersection at Davison Auto Parts, but you can't have everything turn at Baker Creek and go to 99W, because then you jam up both those intersections. So personally, I'm just hoping something we'll never see it, but that's my comment.
Well, and Commissioner, I think you bring up a great point. The other aspect is with the lack of transportation of people out driving during the COVID time, state gas tax are down tremendously. And Representative Noble, you may be more aware of that than any of us. But what that does is it's going to have less money coming to our cities and to the counties over this 6-month period, but also it's going to have less money going into the state coffers, and that will put additional squeeze on some of the projects that are on the STIP right now.
Great, thank you very much, Mayor. Do we have other questions for the Mayor? All right, thank you so much. Councilor, there's another phone number here that I've neglected. Councilor Mankey, is there anything you'd like to add from the city of McMinnville?
Not today.
Okay,
I'm
great.
Just listening.
Yes, thank you. And then I want to ask 541-297-2414. Is that Tyler in Representative Gomberg's office?
It is Senator Roblin, actually.
It's Senator Roblin. I'm going to rename you right now. Welcome, Senator.
Yep, I don't always use my phone. As you know, I'm usually on another route, but I missed this call, and I've been doing lots of things this morning, so I realized that I need to put this on as a regular occurrence, because otherwise you don't send out the deal till just before, and if I'm not watching my phone, I won't see it. So great to be on.
It is. I'm still learning all of those logistics for sure, but I'm glad you made it. And what would you like to tell people in the county today?
We're having ongoing meetings, getting ready for legislative sessions for the next year, and I met with the co-chairs today to talk about transportation economic development. So keeping in mind the activities that are going on in Yamhill County is an important part of that job. So I will mention to them as we move forward, and people will be getting in contact with us to start setting up the agenda for the next session. And even though I won't be there, I have an opportunity to help set that agenda, and all of the construction and ODOT activities that are going on in Yamhill County are important to Oregon and the coast in particular. So we'll continue to work on those things. So keep that in mind. Also, we have our radio show tonight, and we have a special guest, an exceptional guest from Yamhill County will be on the line tonight. So if you have, you can share that with people. But Casey will be on along with a number of county commissioners from Clatsop County down to Coos County on the coast, and I think we have one from Lynn County as well. So to talk about what's happening in their counties and what are the kinds of things that their constituents from across the state can learn from each of these county commissioners, because much of the work that's being done with these fires and with the recovery and all of those things is really in the hands of our county commissioners. So we thought it would be important on our radio show to have a conversation with multiple county commissions up and down the coast so that people could get a general idea of what's happening on the coast. And I was appreciative that the number of people who called back and said they would be glad to be on the radio show tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, I think people need to understand that the state can do only so much. At the end of the day, our county commissioners, our city managers, our city electeds are all a major part of getting us back going again. So that's why we're having the meeting this time with county commissioners. We maybe do something in the future with our cities. But I think county commissioners have a pretty good idea of what's going on up and down the coast of Oregon, and we thought that would be a great opportunity with all of the catastrophic things that are happening in our state. So that's kind of it. We do have legislative days next week, a week from now, and so there's a couple of committees. I'm on natural resources, and on the committee I am the chair of the mental health committee, and we've been having a number of meetings with the state mental health advisory team. We just had our last meeting last week, and recommendations will be coming out. We'll be having a conversation about those and the new Secretary of State's audit of behavioral health in Oregon. So those things will be on our agenda if people want to listen in on the committee next week. And then on Friday, we'll be doing the governor's recommendations for and we have to be in the Capitol, actually, the senators do, to vote on her appointments to different commissions and activities. So that takes place on Friday at 11, I believe. And then Friday afternoon, about 3 o'clock, the 5 will have the next emergency board meeting. So those are the kinds of upcoming events that are happening. And we'll try to keep you informed as we move forward. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Senator. I think that Councilor Menke has a question.
I was just wondering, how is this radio program accessed? I mean, what channel or whatever?
So it's on KXCR, which is a little radio station, public radio station in Florence, Oregon. And then we go to Facebook Live. If you have had, I don't know if you get my emails that we send out weekly. So we do a newsletter fairly often. And in that, we have the link to get to it on Facebook Live. But you can go onto Facebook Live and KXCR Radio. I think you should be able to get it that way. Casey, you've done it a few times. How have you accessed it?
Sorry, Representative Gomberg was just texting me.
Oh, okay, no problem.
So I just did the Facebook Live. That was the easiest way I did it.
Okay.
I just go onto his page. Your page.
Okay. Yeah, off of our page. So you can go to Facebook. We have a Facebook account. You can go there, and there's a Facebook Live part of that. So that's how you access. And other people can pass it on from their Facebooks, and it can go all over the place. The last couple of radios, we took a couple weeks off to regroup while all this was happening. But the previous ones were getting up to the 4,000 and 5,000 people around the state listening in, and some places out of state. So it's been interesting to watch what Facebook can allow people to do naturally.
Yeah, agreed. Senator, I did it. What was it? Thursday, with where I did a Zoom call of our HHS director and our sheriff, and people just sent me through Facebook Live their the questions, and I thought that was
good.
so much fun.
Yeah.
But I must confess that I'm a little bit nervous about the one to not be asking the questions.
Yeah. It'll be good. You'll do really well, I am sure, because these have been very informative meetings, and I've been happy to have joined in with all of the Yamhill people and get to know you better through the Zoom and meetings that we've been having. I think I feel comfortable that you have some great county commissioners who do care about the citizens of Yamhill County, and you represent that well. So I think this will be an enjoyable conversation tonight, and people will get a better understanding of how important the elections that take place at all of our counties and the people who are helping run those counties, and how important they are for Oregonians in general. So thank you for being part of it.
Thank you, Senator. Are there other questions for Senator Riblin? All right. Thank you so much for joining us at the last minute. And I want to note, I will also want to note that Representative Gomberg is on a tour of Highway 18 with the Lincoln County Sheriff right now. So he gives his regards, and it sounds like is experiencing a lot of sadness as he sees a lot of homes that are burned. So his estimate is that up to 300 homes are gone in that stretch of Panther Creek Road and Otis, Nyatsu, and Rose Lodge. So think about the families who are out there.
He was very fortunate. His house was missed by about 500 feet. A couple of his neighbors lost their houses. Other ones didn't. The fire is very fickle how it goes around and does what it does. But he was fortunate. His house is still there.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, please think about Representative Gomberg these days. He's got a lot of neighbors who are in a lot of sadness and fear right now. So thank you. And then I'd love to go into our business leaders here while we still have a little bit of time. And Takesha, do you are you up for going first and sharing with the community? Okay, I'm going to interpret that as it's okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. Joya Goodwin, what would you like to tell people in the community?
Hello, thank you. A couple of things. First of all, I want to give a shout out to you, Commissioner Kula, for all of your work last week through this crisis and our community, and really bringing so many people together. And of course, the Facebook forums that you presented with, the fire marshal, the OEM. And I just want to give a shout out to you and to really everyone at the county for all of the hard work that they did over the last week, the fairgrounds and everyone else. It has shown what a great community we live in, and I just want to say thank you for all of that, all of your work and the work of that group of folks as well. I was ready to send an email out to our membership, and I just wanted to let you know that there's a new program starting this week for people who work in Oregon that need to quarantine for isolation. It is a paid sick leave that the Oregon Department of Consumer and Business Services announced today. It's temporary paid leave. They've got $30 million received from the federal government, and it will pay up to $1,200 for 10 days. So it's $120 a day. People who have got, it starts tomorrow. So you can't go back and say, oh, I was sick in July. It's only starting September 16th, which is tomorrow. And the web address is oregon.gov/COVID paid leave for people who are interested in that. I believe, Commissioner, there are certain criteria you have to meet, but it's a program if you have some need that it's available. I believe Commissioner Starrett talked about Bev Clarno's announcement that people need to contact their local county clerk to get information and help if they want to vote. Employers of ag workers needing PPE. The Kelly Watcherson here in McMinnville at the OSU Extension Office, she has got masks. She's got KN95s, and also Miriam Vargas Corona at Unidos will also have some masks. So if you need them, you can reach out to them. You can always call the chamber. We've got their contact information. And the city of McMinnville has extended their application deadline for the Emergency Business Assistance Grant. We were supposed to close on Friday, but we're extending to another week because of the weather issues that we have had. So that would be my report for today. Thanks so much for having me on this call. I really appreciate it.
Great, thank you very much, Joya. Some good information to get out to people. Yeah, and Councilor Minke, I just forwarded on to all of the Roundtable folks the most recent, the information for Senator Roblin's fireside chat for today. So everybody should have it now. Great, thank you very much. Other questions for Joya? All right, thank you very much, Joya. Scott Cooper, what would you like to tell people today? And welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it. I'm just crossing off all of the things that Joya talked about that I don't have to. Thank you, Joya. Since Shannon's not here, I'm happy to do. We got the Oregon unemployment report came out, and just quick high-level numbers here. As last month, July, we were at 10.4. The August report came out at 7.7. Continues to drop. However, last year, 1 year ago, we were at 3.6. And the past 4 months, employers added 41% of those cut in March and April. Still work to do, but recovery has come in largest forms from leisure and hospitality, retail, and healthcare. So it is a slow draw for sure, and we certainly need to keep battling at this. The county figures will come out 1 week from today. Startup activity for entrepreneurs has picked up, and this is something that I talked about several months ago, that this tends to happen during economic disasters when businesses are affected and layoffs occur. It happened in 2008-9. We saw a large, robust climb in entrepreneurship, and it appears that we might be on that same climb as well, starting now, although it's very early. But we've had a big uptick in calls to the office looking for information and additional help and outreach and connections. So that's good to see, and that is an encouraging sign, certainly. And October 2nd coming up is National Manufacturers Day. Obviously, that's a big deal in our county. And we certainly like to recognize, and as we do every day, but a special day that's get called out for them. And along those lines, our business retention and expansion programming, this month, we have started on-site visits, and it's so great to be off the phone and talking with our manufacturing community and social distance and masked, but it's still great to actually be in their facilities and talk to them, and the connectivity is so much better, and you seem to get so much more out of those visits when they're in person. So really, really happy to be on that board again and doing that. So that's it. Thank you for the opportunity, and again, thank you for all of your work.
Great, thank you very much, Scott. And as we get information out there about how to get connected to FEMA and to DAS and to Business Oregon, thank you for getting that to manufacturers. Appreciate it. All right, we made it at 2:01, and I want to thank you so much, Representative Noble. It's great to see you back here, but I want to note that you zoomed in somehow so we can see you better.
I'm not sure how. It's like, well, maybe it's clearing up a little bit. No, it's not. But, satellite internet is what I have, and some days it's good, and some days it's not as good.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you all for sharing such great information with the community, and obviously also from the heart. So to people out in the community, everybody here works for you every day, and they also care about your health and safety and is working for you on that. So thank you very much and stay safe. We'll see you next week.